Ladies and gentlemen, champions in waiting, let me tell you something that might shake you awake. The biggest war you'll ever fight won't be in the marketplace, it won't be in the courtroom, and it won't be in the streets. It will be in your own mind. The battlefield is not out there, it's in here. And until you conquer yourself, you'll never conquer anything else. Some of you are losing battles that no one sees. You're losing to procrastination. You're losing to fear. You're losing to a story you keep telling yourself about why you can't, why it's not time, why someone else is more qualified. Every single day, people wake up and prepare to face the world. They put on suits, armor themselves with credentials, rehearse pitches, and strategize for competition in the boardroom, in the marketplace, or even in social circles. But what they often forget is that the fiercest opponent they will ever encounter doesn't wear a name badge or sit across the table. That opponent lives in their own mind. It's the internal voice of doubt, the critic that never sleeps, the sabotaging whisper that says, "You're not enough." And until that voice is silenced or subdued, no external victory will ever feel complete. The internal battle is subtle, and that's what makes it dangerous. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't attack head on, it undermines from beneath. It shows up in hesitation before opportunities, in discomfort around success, in self-imposed limitations masked as being realistic. You'll never meet an enemy more persistent than the one that lives in the narratives you've accepted about yourself. These stories weren't always authored by you, but you've rehearsed them so often, they've become truth in your mind. One of the hardest things to accept is that most of what holds us back isn't circumstance, it's self-sabotage. It's the habit of shrinking to fit in. It's the fear of standing out. It's the guilt we carry for wanting more when others have settled for less. There's a deep conflict inside between who we are and who we are called to become. That tension isn't external. It's the internal wrestling between comfort and calling, between survival and significance. People spend years trying to conquer the external world, chasing promotions, income goals, and accolades, only to find that the real prison was inside all along. The insecurity that drives overachievement, the wounds of rejection that mask themselves as ambition, the belief that success must come with struggle or that joy must be earned. These are the unseen chains that bind the most gifted individuals. No amount of external conquest can compensate for an inner world that's out of order. Winning the internal battle starts with self-awareness. And that's no easy path. It requires brutal honesty. It means looking in the mirror and admitting that some of your struggles are self-created. It means acknowledging that your fear of failure is less about the task and more about what failure would confirm about your worth. It means confronting the idea that your identity has been too closely tied to other people's opinions and expectations. The battle's also emotional. It's not just thoughts. It's the feelings we're afraid to feel: shame, inadequacy, unworthiness, and even anger. These emotions build up over time and create a wall between where you are and where you're meant to be. Many people bury these emotions hoping they'll fade, but buried feelings don't die, they grow roots, and those roots manifest in hesitation, confusion, and inconsistency in every area of life. Every decision you make is filtered through your internal world, whether you speak up or stay silent, whether you chase the opportunity or let it pass, whether you believe you're enough or always feel like you're one more achievement away from being worthy. Until you take authority over your inner world, your outer world will be limited. You'll hit ceilings that aren't based on skill, but on the quiet lies you've believed for years. You see it in relationships, the person who pushes love away because deep down they don't feel lovable. You see it in careers, the entrepreneur who undercharges because they doubt their value. You see it in health, the individual who self-sabotages their progress because deep inside they don't believe they deserve to be well. These aren't external obstacles, they're symptoms of an internal war that hasn't been won yet. And let's not ignore the spiritual side of this battle, because when your purpose threatens to awaken, resistance intensifies. There's something in the human spirit that knows when it's on the edge of a breakthrough, and that's when the inner critic gets the loudest. You'll find yourself fighting thoughts you thought you conquered. You'll battle old patterns disguised in new situations. It's not regression, it's resistance to transformation. That's the fight right there in your spirit where destiny is being shaped or shut down. Particularly until you realize that this internal battle is real, and more important than any external hustle, you'll keep spinning in cycles. Achievement without peace, progress without fulfillment, hustle without healing. You can win every argument, every contract, every competition, but if you haven't conquered yourself, the victories will always feel hollow. Your greatest battle is internal, not external. It is not the competition, the economy, your upbringing, or even your circumstances that define the outcome of your life. It's the war happening inside your mind. The inner dialogue that tells you what you can or cannot do. The silent struggles no one else sees. The fears that creep in when the lights are off and the applause fades. That battle is the most crucial because it determines whether you even show up to fight the others. Most people are prepared for external opposition. They study the market, watch the trends, analyze their competition, and prepare their moves. But they're unprepared for the inner sabotage that happens when doubt whispers, "You're not good enough." You can have all the strategy in the world, but if you don't believe you're worthy of success, you'll find ways to undermine it. That's why so many people plateau just before breakthrough. They weren't defeated by the world. They were worn down by their own mind. And that internal resistance shows up in the form of procrastination, but it's really fear. It shows up as perfectionism, but it's really insecurity. It hides in overcommitting and people-pleasing, but it's really a desperate attempt to be accepted. These things aren't random personality traits. They are the symptoms of an internal battlefield that's raging daily. And until you recognize them as such, you'll keep treating surface issues while the root problem goes unaddressed. There is a version of you that exists beyond fear, doubt, and insecurity. That version is not unreachable. It's just buried under years of conditioning. You were taught to be careful, taught to fit in, taught to shrink so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable around your potential. But now, the war is between the version of you that was created by fear and the version of you that was designed for greatness. That conflict creates tension, but it also creates opportunity. You must become the master of your internal state before you can master anything external. That means taking control of your thoughts, not allowing them to run wild and unchecked. It means guarding your self-talk like a sacred treasure, because what you say to yourself when no one else is listening is writing the script for your life. If your inner narrative is broken, no amount of external validation will fix it. You'll keep chasing more and feeling less. The war's also against comfort. Comfort is seductive. It tells you everything is fine just the way it is, even when it's not. It convinces you that playing small is safe, that dreaming bigger is dangerous, and that now is never the right time to grow. But comfort is not your ally. It is the subtle assassin of potential. The battle you face is deciding whether you'll be loyal to your comfort or your calling, because you can't serve both. Every time you're about to do something bold, launch that idea, speak up, say yes to the opportunity, the internal resistance shows up. It's the voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" It's not your enemy trying to destroy you. It's your old self trying to protect what's familiar. The human brain is wired for survival, not success. It clings to what's known, even when the known is unhealthy. The battle is choosing to lead your mind rather than follow its fears. Your past experiences, failures, rejections, and traumas all leave imprints on your internal world. These imprints shape how you see yourself, what you expect from others, and what you believe is possible. If you don't confront them, they become invisible walls you can't see but keep running into. The greatest breakthrough doesn't come when something changes out there. It comes when something shifts in here. In your heart, in your belief system, in your core identity. You may be carrying internal weight that no one can see, but it affects everything you do. It's the reason you hesitate when you should act. It's the reason you downplay your value even when you know you're capable. It's the reason success feels like pressure instead of purpose. This weight must be acknowledged before it can be released. Ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. It just embeds itself deeper into your decisions, your habits, and your future. Until you win the internal war, every external win will be temporary. You can build the business, earn the money, gain the recognition, but if the internal narrative is still rooted in fear, self-doubt, or unworthiness, you'll sabotage your own success. Not because you're weak, but because you haven't yet learned that conquering the world starts with conquering the self. The war is not out there, it never was. The war is inside, and that's the one that matters most. Identity shapes destiny. Believe bigger. Who you believe you are sets the boundaries for what you believe is possible. It's not just about goals, dreams, or effort. It starts at the level of identity. You cannot consistently live a life that contradicts how you see yourself. The version of you that's operating today is a direct reflection of the identity you've accepted, whether that identity was formed by truth, by trauma, or by repetition. Before you change your outcomes, you have to confront and reshape your identity. People often try to change their behavior without first changing the beliefs behind the behavior. That's why progress feels temporary. You can force yourself to wake up early, make the calls, build the brand, but if deep down you still see yourself as small, unworthy, or not enough, your actions will eventually align with that limited identity. Identity isn't just who you say you are, it's who you truly believe you are when no one else is watching, when everything is quiet, when it's just you and your thoughts. Mind is always working to stay consistent with your identity. If you believe you're average, you will subconsciously reject anything that makes you feel exceptional. If you see yourself as a survivor, you'll create situations where you always have something to overcome. If you view yourself as unworthy of wealth or love, you will unconsciously sabotage opportunities for both. Identity acts as an internal thermostat. You can rise or fall temporarily, but you will always return to the level your identity has set for you. Many people are stuck not because they lack skills, resources, or opportunity, but because their identity hasn't evolved. They're still seeing themselves through the lens of who they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or even as children. The stories they internalized back then, stories of failure, rejection, limitation, still speak louder than the truth, and until they rewrite that internal narrative, they'll keep repeating patterns that reflect it. Believing bigger requires breaking away from borrowed identities. Maybe you were told you were shy, not smart enough, not a leader, not creative, or not important. These labels were never yours, but they stuck. You wore them like a second skin, and over time they shaped your reality. But labels aren't limits, they're just lies repeated long enough to feel real. The power to believe bigger begins when you strip away those false definitions and reclaim the authority to define who you are. To shift your identity, you must first imagine a version of yourself that aligns with your potential rather than your past. This isn't about arrogance or delusion. It's about recognizing that the ceiling you keep hitting isn't made of circumstance, but self-concept. You weren't born to stay in the version of you that others were comfortable with. Growth demands a new vision of self, one that matches the size of your calling. Every breakthrough begins with belief, not belief in the market, not belief in the method, belief in yourself. And belief isn't a passive feeling, it's a decision. A declaration that says, I am who I was created to be, and I will not let a smaller version of myself lead my life. That kind of belief expands your choices, it elevates your standards, it changes what you tolerate and what you pursue. When you believe bigger, your actions follow suit. The moment you believe you are worthy of more, you'll stop settling for less. The moment you believe you are capable of leading, you'll stop hiding in the background. The moment you believe you are destined for impact, you'll stop entertaining distractions. Belief shapes behavior, behavior shapes results, and results reinforce belief. It's a cycle, but it starts with identity. When you upgrade your belief about who you are, everything else begins to shift. Your destiny is not a random outcome. It's a reflection of your dominant identity. This is why you can change everything about your environment and still feel stuck. Because if you don't change how you see yourself, you'll keep creating the same reality no matter where you go. Success, peace, love, abundance, they're not out there waiting to be found. They are attracted to the version of you who believes you are ready to receive them. The real transformation happens when your vision of who you are finally matches the vision of where you're going. You won't need to chase alignment. Alignment will chase you. But you must believe bigger, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because your future demands it. You weren't meant to live confined by past definitions. You were made to rise into the truth of your purpose. And that journey begins the moment you decide to see yourself different. Discipline defeats talent every time. Talent may get you noticed, but discipline is what keeps you growing. The world is full of talented people who never fulfill their potential, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they lacked the consistency to show up when it wasn't convenient. Discipline is the bridge between potential and performance. It's not glamorous, and it doesn't always get applause, but it delivers results long after talent has run out of steam. So the talent gives you a head start, but discipline ensures you finish the race. Many people rely on natural ability and charisma in the early stages of their journey, but when pressure increases and expectations grow, it's not enough to be gifted. You have to be grounded. You have to have habits that don't depend on how you feel. Discipline shows up when motivation doesn't. It gets up when it would rather rest. It follows through when it would be easier to quit. Discipline is doing the work when no one is watching. It's mastering the boring, mundane, repetitive tasks that others avoid. It's not sexy or exciting, but it's powerful. It's what builds character while talent is trying to build attention. Talent often craves the spotlight, but discipline creates the spotlight by producing excellence in the shadows. If you're waiting to feel ready or inspired every day, you'll be inconsistent and unstable. Discipline doesn't wait for a feeling, it follows a decision. The danger of talent without discipline is entitlement. When you're naturally gifted, it's easy to believe you don't need to work as hard. You might even start to expect rewards just for showing up. But the world doesn't reward potential, it rewards performance. And without discipline, talent fades. The most dangerous lie talent believes is that it can skip the fundamentals. But fundamentals are where mastery is built, and discipline is what keeps you committed to them. Discipline is also about integrity. It's doing what you said you would do even after the mood you set it in has passed. It's making promises to yourself and keeping them. It's choosing purpose over preference, long-term gain over short-term comfort. Discipline builds trust within. Every time you follow through, you reinforce a belief that you are dependable, capable, and strong. That internal trust becomes the foundation for confidence. Over time, discipline compounds. Like interest in a bank account, small, consistent actions yield exponential growth. A little progress made every day eventually becomes something extraordinary. Talent may bring quick wins, but discipline brings legacy. It's the difference between a shooting star and a steady flame. One burns bright and disappears. The other lights the way for years. Talent shines. Discipline doesn't just make you better, it makes you resilient. It trains you to push through resistance, to move even when momentum is lacking. Life will test your endurance. There will be obstacles, failures, delays, and disappointments. In those moments, talent won't be enough. What will carry you forward is the muscle memory of discipline. It becomes your anchor when storms hit, your structure when everything feels chaotic. People who rely solely on talent often find themselves shocked when someone with less natural ability outpaces them. But it's not shocking at all. It's the natural result of consistent effort. Discipline outworks flash every time. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't seek shortcuts. And it doesn't depend on external validation. It keeps going when the hype dies down, when the crowd goes home, and when no one is paying attention. Greatness is not born, it is built. And the bricks are made of discipline. Every early morning, every late night, every sacrifice, every repetition, it all counts, it all stacks. While talent sleeps in, discipline is sharpening its edge. While talent looks for hacks, discipline is building habits. Over time, the gap between the two widens until talent can no longer catch up. Because success doesn't go to the most gifted, it goes to the most consistent. There is no greatness without discipline. You can be born with brilliance, creativity, and vision, but if you lack the will to discipline yourself, to do what must be done, regardless of how you feel, then your talent will remain a shadow of what it could have been. Discipline is the difference between someone who could have and someone who did. It's not flashy, but it's faithful, and in the end, faithfulness always wins. Fear is misplaced faith redirected. Fear is not the absence of belief, it's belief pointed in the wrong direction. It is faith in failure, faith in rejection, faith in pain, faith in things falling apart. When you're afraid, it's not because you don't believe, it's because you believe something negative will happen more strongly than you believe in the possibility of your own breakthrough. Fear has power not because it's real, but because your mind has rehearsed the worst and convinced your heart to trust in that outcome. Fear thrives in imagination. It paints pictures of defeat before the battle even begins. It plays scenarios that haven't happened and might never happen, but they feel so vivid that your body reacts as if they're already true. Your palms sweat, your voice shakes, your feet hesitate, not because you've failed, but because you've believed that failure is inevitable. Fear, at its core, is a misuse of your creative power. You were designed to envision what's possible, but fear hijacks that ability and redirects it toward what might go wrong. So it's important to recognize that fear is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It reveals where your faith has been misplaced. If you're afraid of being rejected, it's because you've put more faith in the opinions of others than in your own identity. If you're afraid of launching something new, it's because you've placed more belief in your potential to fall than in your power to rise. Fear always points to the place where your belief needs to be realigned and elevated. You have to ask yourself, what am I choosing to believe in this moment? Am I believing in lack or am I believing in abundance? Am I believing that the worst will happen or that even if it does, I will grow through it? Faith is a choice, and so is fear. Both require imagination. Both demand trust. The only difference is the direction in which you're pointing your energy. Redirect that energy and you begin to turn fear into fuel. Redirecting fear doesn't mean you won't feel it anymore. It means you'll stop bowing to it. You'll stop making decisions based on it. You'll stop letting it define your limits. Instead of asking, what if I fail? You begin asking, what if this changes everything? Instead of thinking, they might laugh at me, you begin thinking, what if they're inspired by me? It's the same emotional energy, but it's been given a new assignment. The energy once used to imagine disaster is now used to create destiny. Fear is often loudest at the edge of your next level when you're about to break through comfort zones, challenge old patterns, or step into new territory. Fear rises not because you're weak, but because you're close. The closer you get to transformation, the louder the fear becomes. But loud doesn't mean true. Fear uses volume to disguise its lies. Just because it screams doesn't mean it has authority. You decide what gets to rule your mind. Your thoughts are the steering wheel of your belief system. If you let fear drive, it will always take you to places that shrink you. But if you take the wheel and choose to believe in something greater, you begin to chart a new course. You begin to write new narratives, ones that support your purpose instead of sabotage it. Every great achievement in history started with someone who felt fear but decided to believe anyway. There is no courage without fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. It's the deliberate act of redirecting your faith toward a greater possibility. Courage says, yes, fear is here, but it doesn't get to lead. When you choose to believe in your assignment, in your capacity, in your calling, despite fear, you begin to break the pattern. Fear loses power every time you act in defiance of it. Many people wait for fear to disappear before they take action, but fear doesn't leave first, obedience does. You have to move, speak, build, show up while fear is present. That's what it means to redirect it. You take the energy, the intensity, the anticipation that fear creates, and instead of letting it freeze you, you let it propel you. Let fear be the signal, not the stop sign. Let it be the indicator that something important is at stake. And use that urgency to push forward, not pull back. The same imagination that builds fear can build faith. The same creativity that visualizes failure can visualize victory. The same voice that whispers doubt can declare truth. It's not a matter of getting rid of fear. It's a matter of reassigning the belief that created it. If fear is simply faith in the wrong future, then your task is not to fight it, but to flip it. Point it toward what's possible. Anchor it in what's true. Aim it in the direction of your purpose and watch everything begin to shift. Decisions determine direction. Choose powerfully. Every path you walk, every result you achieve, every version of yourself that unfolds begins with a decision. Not always the big dramatic decisions, but the daily ones. The ones you think don't matter, the ones you make when no one's watching, the small compromises or small commitments. Each decision is a seed, and those seeds grow into outcomes. Whether you're stuck or soaring, you can trace the trail back to a series of choices. Most people underestimate the power they hold in the moment of decision. They think their circumstances dictate their life, but it's their choices within those circumstances that create the difference. Two people can face the same setback. One gets stuck, the other grows. It's not the event that matters, it's the decision after the event that determines whether you rise or retreat. Your current reality is the compound interest of your past decisions, and your future is being formed by the decisions you're making right now. When you make decisions from fear, you reinforce limitation. When you decide based on comfort, you choose stagnation. But when you decide from purpose, you choose expansion. The challenge is that powerful decisions rarely feel easy. They often feel like risk, discomfort, and resistance. That's because growth never feels like safety. You can't become more while clinging to what's familiar. You have to choose the direction of your future over the convenience of your present. The most life-shaping decisions are not about what to do, they're about who to be. When you decide to see yourself differently, value yourself deeply, and demand more from yourself consistently, everything else shifts. Your actions change because your standards rise. Your circle changes because your alignment strengthens. Your outcomes change because your mindset evolves. The decision to step into a higher identity will always reroute your direction. Indecision is a decision in disguise. It's a silent choice to stay the same. It masquerades as caution, but it's often fear in a costume. The longer you wait to decide, the more opportunity passes you by. Time doesn't wait for clarity to come knocking. You create clarity by choosing and moving. Most people want guarantees before they decide, but powerful people don't wait for perfect conditions. They create momentum by choosing and adjusting along the way. Every powerful decision requires you to give something up. That's why so many people delay or avoid them. To move forward, you might have to let go of comfort, of approval, of security, of old narratives. But that release is the price of elevation. You can't hold on to the old and reach for the new at the same time. The direction you choose will always be reflected by what you're willing to leave behind. Choosing powerfully means choosing purpose over preference, calling over comfort. You don't have to know every step of the journey to make a powerful decision. You just need to know the next right step. Overthinking is the enemy of action. It traps you in analysis and paralyzes your power. Decisions create momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence leads to clarity. Waiting for certainty before you move is backwards. You build certainty by moving. And every time you decide in alignment with your higher self, you reinforce that version of you. Decisions shape identity. Every time you choose to show up, to rise higher, to refuse to settle, you are casting a vote for the person you're becoming. Identity is not just discovered, it's decided. You don't become powerful by accident. You become powerful by choosing to act in power even when it's uncomfortable. Those consistent, powerful choices begin to redefine what you believe about yourself. You're not a product of your past. You're the product of the decisions you make about who you are today. People who create extraordinary lives don't do it because they're lucky or special. They do it because they made decisions that align with their vision, not their circumstances. They chose faith over fear, action over avoidance, growth over comfort. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for the conditions to be right. They decided to become the kind of person who moves with purpose, who acts in boldness, who chooses powerfully. You don't need more time, you need a decision. You don't need more permission, you need resolve. You don't need everything figured out, you need to choose a direction and start walking. Decisions carve paths in the chaos. They turn confusion into clarity. They turn potential into progress. And the moment you choose powerfully, without apology, without delay, you shift the entire trajectory of your life.